They laughed when you sat alone. They whispered when you stared too long at the sky. They rolled their eyes when you asked questions no one dared to ask. You were the child who wandered off, the student who didn't fit in, the adult who never quite felt at home in this world. They called you weird, too much, or too quiet. But what if everything they misunderstood was never a flaw, but evidence of something extraordinary? What if Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who redefined how we understand the mind and soul, would have seen your weirdness as a profound sign of genius? You see, Jung didn't believe genius was about IQ or traditional success. He believed it was the ability to connect with something deeper, something hidden beneath the surface of what most people call reality. He believed that the soul speaks in symbols, that dreams reveal more than logic, and that the individuals who appear strange or out of place are often carriers of ancient wisdom, intuitive insight, and revolutionary creativity. The truth is, society fears what it doesn't understand, and it especially fears those who live authentically outside the mold. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to wake people up. The world has always mistaken sensitivity for weakness, solitude for loneliness, intensity for insanity. But Jung's work reveals something different. He believed the misfits, the outcasts, the deeply feeling and deeply thinking individuals were in touch with the unconscious, the realm where archetypes, instincts, and truths reside. He believed that those who are called strange are often being initiated into the great mysteries of life. Maybe you felt too much as a child. While others laughed, you saw the pain in the room. While others played, you wondered why people lied. While others obeyed, you questioned the rules. This wasn't defiance. This was depth. It was an inner intelligence that couldn't be measured in grades or trophies. You were already perceiving what others couldn't name. You sensed the emotional undercurrents that most adults ignored. You were intuitive, and that made others uncomfortable. People who are born with this kind of inner sensitivity often grow up feeling like aliens in their own families. Maybe you were the black sheep, the one who asked why when everyone else said yes. The one who didn't laugh at cruelty disguised as humor. The one who couldn't fake a smile or pretend to be interested in things that felt meaningless. You weren't difficult, you were discerning. Jung called this the individuation process, the sacred path of becoming who you really are, even if it means standing alone. And geniuses almost always walk this path. What people often call weirdness is actually originality. You weren't repeating what others said. You were forming your own thoughts. You weren't mimicking behavior to fit in. You were observing, questioning, and creating. You probably felt drawn to the abstract, the metaphysical, the symbolic. Maybe you had dreams that felt more real than waking life. Maybe you sensed connections between things others didn't notice. Carl Jung would have told you this was not delusion but intuition. The whisper of the unconscious guiding you to truth. And this truth, your truth, was never going to be found in mainstream validation. Jung believed that the journey toward self-realization often leads through darkness, solitude, and rejection. You may have felt broken at times, misunderstood, isolated, but what if that pain was part of the initiation into your genius? What if being pushed to the margins gave you a clearer view of what others are too busy to see? Jung spoke of the archetypes, universal patterns of energy that live inside us. The rebel, the sage, the seeker, the healer, the creator. If you've always felt pulled toward deeper meaning, if you've questioned authority, searched for answers in silence, found beauty in shadows, then you are living through these archetypes. You are not lost. You are on a path that many fear to walk, and it takes a special kind of mind, an uncommon genius, to walk it with courage. Maybe your intelligence isn't loud. Maybe it doesn't show up on standardized tests or in public speeches. Maybe your brilliance hides in the quiet corners. Your poetry, your art, your dreams, your way of seeing the soul of a person when everyone else sees the surface. Jung would say that's where the real treasure lies. The ability to hold paradox, to feel both joy and sorrow at once, to find meaning in the unseen, to decode the symbols in your life, that is genius. But this kind of genius comes with a cost. When you live in a society that praises conformity, being authentic feels dangerous. When others numb themselves with distraction, your awareness can feel like a burden. And when most people are disconnected from their inner life, your emotional depth can feel like a foreign language. But never forget, Jung believed that healing the world begins with healing the individual, and those who face themselves fully, even if it breaks them open, become the carriers of wisdom for others. So maybe you've struggled with depression, anxiety, existential dread. That doesn't make you broken. That means you're awake. Jung said that neurosis is often the suffering of a soul that has not found its meaning. And you have been searching, haven't you? Not for status or success, but for truth, for something real in a world of illusions. That is the mark of genius. Not the answers you give, but the questions you dare to ask. They called you weird because they couldn't categorize you. You changed too much, felt too deeply, moved too differently. But that's what creativity is. It disrupts patterns. It reimagines the world. You may not wear a lab coat or win a Nobel Prize, but if you've ever created beauty from pain, clarity from confusion, art from suffering, you are a genius in Jung's eyes. And perhaps, more importantly, in the eyes of your own soul. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to understand yourself, to descend into your shadows and rise with gold, to embrace your contradictions and turn them into creation. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That's what you've been doing all along, even when you didn't know the name for it. Even when others called it madness, you were becoming. And maybe, just maybe, the reason you never fit in is because you were born to stand out, not for applause, but for truth. Not to follow the path, but to forge your own. That path is not easy. It is lined with doubt, loneliness, and the temptation to abandon yourself to be accepted. But those who stay true to their inner voice, despite the noise of the world, leave behind something eternal, a legacy of honesty, of originality, of soul. So the next time someone calls you weird, remember this. That word has been used to describe every genius who ever lived, every visionary who was ahead of their time, every heart that felt too much, every mind that saw too far. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are being initiated. You are not weird. You are rare. And rare things are not always understood, but they are always needed. Carl Jung knew this. He saw what society missed. He looked into the unconscious and found the blueprint for transformation. And in that blueprint, your so-called weirdness is a signpost, a sacred mark of a soul that came here to awaken, to create, to transcend. So walk your path no matter how lonely. Speak your truth even if your voice shakes. Create your life like a work of art, even if no one understands it yet. Because genius doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait to be validated. It rises in the silence. It burns in the shadows. It transforms suffering into gold. And you, strange one, brilliant one, sensitive one, have been doing that your whole life. The world just didn't have the language for it. But now you do. You are not weird. You are the future they can't yet see.